other than the things I've told you so far, there's literally no other way to increase your testosterone. Except, like, bro, I would get bricked at the most random times. So those are my thoughts, not even my opinions, because literally all this that I've said has been scientifically proven. So, good luck coming at me.
Got him! Got him! Oh! Whoa!
Hello everybody, welcome to part 2 of increasing your testosterone levels naturally. So in part 1, I went ahead and explained what testosterone is, where it comes from, and mostly the factors that reduce your levels, such as aging, number 1, alcohol, sleep, and having a sedentary lifestyle. I also covered the symptoms of high T versus low T, as well as some things to take into account when trying to increase and optimize your levels. So like I'm going to keep kind of repeating myself. There's going to be a very common pattern of, rather than wanting to increase your testosterone, you would much rather want to focus on the factors that reduce your testosterone levels. Obviously, the aging, there's only so much you can do. You can obviously live a better overall lifestyle, which is going to promote that production, that natural production. But this theme is that living with high testosterone, or trying to attain that and remain on the upper higher end, is more of a lifestyle choice, a lifestyle decision that you have to be aware of, because it will never work without consistency, and it'll also, you won't see results. You won't, if you don't apply any of these things into your everyday lifestyle, you're not going to see any results. It's really that simple. So let's go over the qualities of a high testosterone lifestyle. Just real briefly, I am going to touch up on the signs of optimal levels of testosterone. I touched on this a little bit in the last video, but the main thing is, it's like you're going to have increased muscle mass, because testosterone is an anabolic hormone. So the more that your body excretes it, the more muscle mass you're going to be able to build. Low body fat percentage kind of goes back to that aromatase thing, because mostly visceral fat, so you like belly fat, is metabolically active, which means that it has the power to, like, that's where aromatase hangs in. So it can actually excrete and like push out hormones that in all reality are detrimental to testosterone levels, like aromatase, estrogen, cortisol, etc. You're definitely going to have more stable energy levels. I mentioned that testosterone actually peaks in the morning around 6 to 7 a.m. That's when you get that big influx of testosterone, which is slowly going to decrease throughout the day, but it's going to help your energy levels stay a whole lot more stable. So that's why if you have good signs or good levels, then you shouldn't have any trouble with lethargy or feeling tired throughout the day. And finally, I want to include healthy skin. I feel like sometimes it's overlooked. Sometimes you can kind of, this is more anecdotal, but sometimes you can even just tell, by the way like some people present themselves, or like by the way that their skin looks. Like sometimes it just feels like you have thicker skin at the end, or like a glow. It's really weird and hard to explain, but it's more of like a, if you know type of deal. So just real quick, showing you the signs of optimal levels, and obviously the opposite would be the signs of low levels. So what is the number one thing that we can actually control? that is going to be our exercise. Exercise is going to be number one thing that stimulates hormonal response, especially for testosterone. Specifically want to focus on squats, deadlifts, bench press, and Olympic lifts. You want to involve large muscle groups, obviously your legs, back, chest. You want to involve all your muscle groups, but the thing is like when you adapt these different training styles, these compound movements, you recruit more muscle mass and engage more motor units. So this leads your body to release more testosterone because you're just using more force. Like simple as that. You need more of the hormone, anabolic hormone, to support the activity that you're doing. So that's why it's important to train not just hard but heavy. Like for example, 85% of your 1 rep max with moderate volume. That has introduced a significant testosterone spike in this study. Actually, testosterone physiology and resistance exercise and training. They found that testosterone levels rise acutely after heavy resistance exercise, especially in men. Obviously, this varies on the intensity, the gender, the age, and the type of training that you do. But generally, there will always be a consistent spike post-exercise. So to maximize the testosterone levels, resistance workouts should definitely involve high volume and high weight, because obviously if you're not training as hard as you should be, you're not going to get that big hormonal response that you're looking for. And lastly, adequate carb and protein intake before training supports performance levels and prevents cortisol from blunting testosterone production, which is another thing to be wary of. You should always be eating some type of carbohydrate and protein before workout, especially resistance training. So that's just to kind of offset the catabolic effects that exercise can present on the body, because you don't want to train really hard and you haven't eaten anything all day. There's a high chance that you're going to be eating up those amino acids in your muscle rather than what your body prefers, like the carbohydrates and the fat that can fuel you through your workout. So if you're not fueling yourself correctly before exercise, you could be doing more harm than good, especially if all those other factors like your sleep and nutrition aren't locked in. So that's really about it. Exercise is going to be your best friend. Number one, for sure. Heavy, training hard, big muscle groups. And don't overtrain. That is one thing that's often overlooked, is how easily we can overtrain. Like if we're training like this every day, eventually you're going to get tired. Like your muscles are going to fatigue. You're not going to have those consistent energy levels and consistent lifts every single day if you go every day of the week. So you have to make sure that you're taking into account your rest days and not overtraining, because if you overtrain, you have a really long workout with too much volume, it can also increase that cortisol response and it will blunt the testosterone production. So being aware of that and knowing your limits, but also training really hard is the key for increasing the testosterone. This is a study. It's increased physical activity has a greater effect than reduced energy intake on lifestyle modification induced increases in testosterone. So I'm just going to explain this study briefly, and then I'll go into the table and kind of show you what it means. So it's unknown whether increased physical activity or calorie restriction during lifestyle modifications has a greater effect on serum testosterone levels. So 41 overweight and obese men completed a 12-week lifestyle modification program with aerobic exercise and calorie restriction. So they didn't use any weights. This is pure cardio. They divided the participants into two groups based on the median change in the number of steps. So it was a high and low physical activity group that they were using. So after the program, serum testosterone levels were significantly increased. Serum testosterone levels in high physical activity group were significantly higher than those in the low physical activity group. The effect was not observed between the groups based on a calorie restriction level. So they found a significant positive correlation between the changes of testosterone levels and the number of steps. So the results suggest that an increase in physical activity greatly affects serum testosterone levels in overweight and obese men during lifestyle modification. So this is it. This is what we want. This is a perfect study that highlights what exercise can actually do as far as testosterone levels go. So let me open up this table real fast and show you what happened. So this is a median age right here, average age. You in your low physical activity group, 50, and then the high or low is 50, high is 47. So let's look at each characteristic between the two groups. Body mass decreased significantly in the low physical activity group by 12 kilograms. In the high physical activity group, it decreased by 11 kilograms. BMI, significant decrease. Waist circumference, significant decrease. Systolic, diastolic blood pressure, significant decrease. Mean arterial pressure, significant decrease. Heart rate, significant decrease. Cholesterol, HDL actually did not increase significantly. It was the only thing that did not have a significant change. It's kind of interesting. LDL decreased, triglycerides decreased, insulin decreased, HOMA-IR decreased. You know, this shows you the characteristics like of what physical exercise can actually do for you. So just apart from testosterone, like this was a testosterone study, but this shows you how effective lifestyle modifications and physical activity can be, especially in overweight and obese populations. So far, we've just been talking about a lot of exercise, right? Exercise, because it's going to contribute to, you know, a higher metabolic output and also a bigger response, you know, like when you're physically active, your body needs more of everything, essentially. You know, it needs more energy, it needs more hormones, testosterone, etc. So this is why it's so important to exercise. You know, the muscle mass contribution, lowering body fat, it's all perfect formula for increasing your testosterone. Dietary fat, this is a huge one. Low-fat diets significantly lower testosterone levels. So this was actually a systematic review and meta-analysis of intervention studies in the Journal of Steroid Biochemistry and Molecular Biology. So there were 9 databases were searched from their inception to October 2020, yielding 6 eligible studies with a total of 206 participants. So the studies were included if they measured testosterone, total, free, and urinary. They involved healthy adult men, so 18 plus. The intervention had to last at least 1 week, and all the interventions had to at least had a 10% difference in fat intake between the diets. So at least one of the diets, whatever the case may be, had to have less than 10% of the calories coming from fat. And finally, they controlled for confounding factors like anabolic steroid use, supplements, major diet and exercise changes, and also significant weight loss. So what was found after they did all these statistical analysis? They found that low-fat diets significantly lower testosterone levels compared to high-fat diets. Total testosterone free test, urinary test, and DHT all decreased on the low-fat diets, and this was due not to the fact that you were excreting testosterone or like that it was getting out of your body, but more the fact that your body wasn't producing as much as it usually would. So the general recommendation is to at least keep fat between 25 to 35% of your total calorie intake and focus on more like monounsaturated fats, polyunsaturated fats. As far as fats go, it definitely depends more on the quantity. Like, yes, if you're eating nothing but processed saturated fat or even trans fat, it will definitely have a detrimental effect on your health. But if you're getting your fat from whole foods, like, I mean, olive oil, nuts, avocados, whole food dietary fat is should not be an issue by any means. And this was mostly due just to the fact of like the fact that the effect that dietary fat has on hormonal responses. Like, we need fat. If you have too low, your production will decrease, so this is kind of just highlighting, don't be too scared. Don't be scared to eat fat. Don't be scared that you think you're going to get fat from fat. Fat is essential, and just like everything else, you will see good results when you consume it in moderation. So far we have exercise, compound lifts, sleep, dietary fat, and vitamin D. Vitamin D is a very special vitamin because it's not really a vitamin. A lot of people call it a pro-hormone or a multifunctional vitamin because it's in charge of regulating a lot of the genes involved with hormone production. So when you're deficient in vitamin D, obviously your body can't work the way it's supposed to, and the vast majority, like I would say probably 80 to 100% of at least Americans, or even, I don't want to speak for the whole world, but Americans are certainly vitamin D deficient, especially in the older population, because the main way that vitamin D can be obtained is from direct sunlight, specifically UVB rays. So once you get like sedentary and you don't go outside a lot, like it's going to be very hard to meet those needs, especially because vitamin D is like, one, it's important, but you need some of it every day. It's really simple as that. It's a constant thing that you have to replenish each day, and the more optimal your levels are, the more efficiently everything's going to be. So the main thing is that sunlight is going to be your best friend as far as vitamin D goes. There are very many vitamin D supplements and foods that contain vitamin D, but overall, as far as affordability, practicality, sunlight is going to be your number one source of vitamin D. So how do we do this? The recs are very different. They vary a lot, but the one that I'm using says adults aged 19 to 50 years old require at least 600 IUs per day of vitamin D to maximize bone health and muscle function. So that means that you need maybe even close to to raise your blood level to about 30 nanograms per milliliter. You need at least 1,500 to 2,000 IUs of vitamin D per day. So in this study, in deficient men, after a year of supplementing with 3,300 IUs, total testosterone significantly increased. But if you can't supplement and you don't know where to start, I found a general guideline that shows that 1,000 IUs of vitamin D can be synthesized in your body between 10 to 15 minutes of sun exposure. So obviously that will vary depending on your sunburn risk as well as the amount of melanin that you have. how dark you are. The darker you are, the harder it is for that vitamin D to get synthesized and penetrate through your skin. So the times vary a lot. Like, it can vary from 10 minutes all the way to probably 30 minutes. So doing a little bit of research on your own wouldn't hurt to at least find out how much sunlight you need a day. And at the end of the day, like, just don't get sunburned. Don't let the sun cause harm to you when you feel like if it's hurting or something. Like, just get out, do intervals, go outside 10 minutes at a time, a few times a day, and that's really all you need. And then, of course, just support your diet with some vitamin D fortified foods. Eggs have vitamin D, fortified dairy products have vitamin D, and then some fatty fish are going to have vitamin D. Next, we have zinc. I decided to include zinc because it is important in testosterone levels, mostly because the conversion of testosterone to its active form requires 5-alpha reductase, which is dependent on zinc to have activity. So a zinc deficiency may lead to a decreased male hormone receptor activity. Therefore, zinc supplementation, or at least eating zinc, will maintain the important role of biological function of testosterone in your body. Especially zinc deficiency can lead to testis structural damage and also stress. So, if you remember, those Leydig cells that are in the testes are in charge for converting that cholesterol or synthesizing the cholesterol and testosterone. If those are impaired because you have a zinc deficiency, then you're not going to be operating at those optimal levels. You're not going to be able to synthesize the testosterone that you need to if you're deficient in zinc. Again, zinc deficient Leydig cells fail to convert ingested sex steroid precursors into active hormones. So essentially, that's cholesterol. If your Leydig cells, if they're zinc deficient, they will not be able to convert the cholesterol into testosterone. Finally, studies have shown that a negative effect in zinc deficiency levels in a positive effect on zinc supplementation. So, although some of those are limited, the physiology is there. The biochemistry behind zinc and the function that it has on hormones and testosterone is there. So it is important to be aware of your consumption. So as you can tell, you can find zinc in animal products. That's going to be your best bet. Red meat, lamb, more red meat, some nuts. Well, 2 milligrams for 26 grams, that's not a lot. So you kind of want to hang out a little bit more on the upper end. And unfortunately, I don't have a rec, bro. I'm actually so sorry about that. I'm going to have to add that. But, yeah, that's zinc. That's another thing, right? We can, vitamin D, zinc, magnesium, all these things that we can easily modify and be aware of to change our lifestyle factors. Finally, last one is going to be magnesium. Magnesium is another one of those, it's actually an electrolyte, but, or no, wait, yeah, I think so. It has to be, right? Don't quote me on that, bro. It's been a long day, alright. But it's another thing that regulates and promotes testosterone production. So this study is the effects of magnesium supplementation on blood parameters of athletes at rest and after exercise. So they recruited 30 male subjects between ages 18 and 22. The participants were divided into 3 groups of 10 subjects, and they went under 4 weeks in a regime when they measured their testosterone levels after a physical activity intervention after exercise. So the 3 different ones were resting before supplementation, exhaustion before supplementation, resting after supplementation, and exhaustion after supplementation. So group 1, they were fully sedentary. They were receiving 10 milligrams of magnesium sulfate per kilogram of body weight per day. Group 2, The subjects received magnesium supplement at the same quantity, 10 milligrams per kilogram, but they did taekwondo routines for between 90 to 120 minutes a day for 5 days a week. And then group 3 is the same as those in group 2, but they did not supplement those 10 milligrams of magnesium. So per body weight, per kilogram. So real quick, I'm actually going to check mine. I'm weighing about 177 pounds, divided at 2.205, I'm about 80 kilograms. So 10 milligrams per kilogram, that'd be close to 800 milligrams of magnesium per day. So, I'd have to eat a lot of this stuff. All these are high magnesium containing foods. So this, obviously, supplementing it can be more effective than consuming it from the diet, because at the end of the day, you're going to be eating a lot of food trying to hit that per kilogram magnesium goal. So finally, after measuring all the testosterone levels, they realized that the levels increased at exhaustion before and after supplementation, as well as the increase in sedentary subjects. So not just because this shows that not just because they did physical activity that the testosterone levels increased, but they also increased because of the supplementation. And then the increases that were higher in those who exercise than sedentary. So it kind of shows you that kind of synergistic effect that you can have. Obviously, why would you want to supplement magnesium to increase your testosterone if you're not going to exercise? You want to take everything in and put it all together and make sure that you can follow it and be consistent with it, and then you'll actually be able to increase your production at the end of the day. So to wrap this up, our top 5 takeaways are that testosterone is made from cholesterol, right? So don't focus so much on consuming more cholesterol, consuming less cholesterol. Just know that cholesterol is a precursor and has a big role in testosterone production. The main things that will reduce your testosterone are going to be, not very steady sleep schedule, your age, and alcohol, therefore, and being very sedentary, having a high body fat, low muscle mass, etc. So your best friends are going to be getting quality, consistent sleep, resistance training, very hard compound exercises. About 85% of your 1 rep max between 8 to 12 reps is going to show a significant increase in testosterone production. And also vitamin D, and not having a low fat diet, having a moderate fat and healthy fat. So those are some of the main takeaways. Your macros, if you're training, going really hard, you're always gonna, protein is important. I don't think I have to touch too much on protein, because it's like everybody's favorite macro, not to eat but to talk about. It might be carbs, I don't know. But of course, if you're training hard and you have literally everything else going well, there's no reason why you should decrease your protein intake. If anything, you should increase it to promote that anabolic effect that testosterone can have for you. Again, the killers: alcohol, stress, poor sleep, and nutrient deficiencies like zinc, magnesium, vitamin D. Really, any kind of nutrient deficiency probably will have a impact on your testosterone levels. To say that's significant, that depends on like a study or something, but these are all like very obvious factors that you should be taken into account of and changing in your lifestyle if you want to naturally increase your levels. And lastly, the consistency beats all the hacks that you will ever see. Other than performance enhancing drugs, anabolic steroids, testosterone, injectable testosterone, there's no other way to actually increase your production, especially if you're at a later stage in life. Once you hit 30, late 20s, those baseline levels are going to start to decrease. Maybe not to like a significant extent till you get to like maybe 40, 50, etc. but they will decrease. So to be aware and conscious of that, and being proactive and adapting a lifestyle that supports high production, then it benefits you to start as soon as possible. And the consistency is essentially what's going to give you those results, because like I said, the only hacks you could really have are steroids. And I mean, I'm not going to tell you hop on steroids. There's no reason for me to hop on steroids. There's not a reason for many people to hop on steroids. Imagine if you started, implementing all these lifestyle changes in your 20s, in your 30s. Think about how you're going to feel when you're 40 or 50, as if you started changing your lifestyle when you're 40, imagine how you're going to feel when you're 50, Like, you have 20 years of trying to implement all these factors that will help you live a better lifestyle, a better overall quality of life. So the sooner you can start, and the sooner you can be aware and implement these things in your life, then the better off you're going to be. And finally, consistency beats hacks. All these things are habitual things that eventually you can incorporate into your everyday life. Again, sleeping, resistance training, sunlight, and nutrition. Like, those 4 things will take you a very, very long way. And finally, the hacks I'm referring to are supplements most of the time. When people tell you that you're gonna hack your body, do this and that, other than anabolic steroids, performance enhancing drugs, injectable testosterone, there is no other way to naturally increase your levels. I mean, that's not even naturally increasing, that's synthetically increasing your levels. So like the things that people sell. So like Andrew Huberman, like a while ago, he was really big on promoting Fedosia agrestis and Tonka Ali, because there have been some studies that find that they increase your testosterone levels. And so, you know what? I was like, yeah, I'll get a bottle. Why not, right? Who doesn't want more testosterone? I sure do. So I get this bottle, 180 capsules, bro. Like, there is a lot in here. There's basically the whole bottle is in here. So as you can tell, I was not a fan of this. Why? Well, me already kind of knowing and trying to implement, things that will promote high testosterone levels. I was active and trying to be aware of that. Like, I have gotten my testosterone checked in the morning, fasted. I've never gotten my free test checked, but I have gotten my total test checked twice. And the first time, about 2 years ago, it was in the 700s, low 700s in the morning. And then about 2 months ago, I also got it tested again, and it was in the 9s. So I think I'm straight for now. As long as I keep doing what I'm doing, I shouldn't have any issues. But back to this. I bought this. It's supposed to take 2 a day. And it's an extract. Like, these are all roots, natural, whatever, found in nature, whatever the case may be. I decided to start supplementing this, and I realized that my libido was like even higher. Like, bro, I would get bricked at the most random times, whether I took it in the morning or at night, and I felt like kind of jittery, kind of just off. So yeah, bro, like at the end of the day, that thing just made me like just more horny. And I want to touch on that because there's so many testosterone supplements out there. Like, people are constantly trying to sell them, and the ingredient lists are like just full of a bunch of different roots and extracts and leaves and oils, and like, who even knows? Like, at the end of the day, you might not even know what you're putting in your body. And they sell these bottles for, they sell bottles and stacks for hundreds of dollars. Like, the supplement industry is such a huge industry, and none of it's regulated by the FDA. So unless you have a very, very reputable source, there's a high chance that you don't even know what you're getting in your supplement. So if you were to take those $100 that you might invest into a couple bottles of these that basically are just aphrodisiacs that just make you have that sexual drive, or like even stimulants in there that make you like, you know, a little bit more focused or whatever. If you were to invest that money into a gym membership, your nutrition, I mean, sleep, I don't know how, you know, like a new mattress, new pillow, whatever the case may be, those $100 are going to be significantly more useful when you try to implement them into your lifestyle rather than hacking it and trying to increase your levels with a supplement. Because at the end of the day, the supplement really isn't doing anything, especially if you're not changing your lifestyle. Like, yeah, you could try a supplement, but you have to try these proven things first. Like, in what logic does it make sense to start supplementing something that's going to increase your levels when you're not willing to get better quality, consistent sleep, when you're not willing to go to the gym and train heavy, when you're not even willing to go outside to sun to get vitamin D, when you're not willing to go to the grocery store and like get a good haul of very nutrient dense food. It's never really going to work. So you're really just wasting your money. So those are my thoughts, not even my opinions, because literally all this that I've said has been scientifically proven. So good luck coming at me. Yeah, that's really about it. I'm getting a little bit more comfortable doing these videos. They're really fun, but they do take a long time, a lot of work, a lot of information. But I hope